Sir?
I'm Larry Pratt with Gun Owners of America, and thank you very much, members of the committee, for enabling us to be here. Appreciate it very much. Gun Owners of America for a long time has held that the Second Amendment needs to be taken more seriously in more government centers than it often has been. It does have the language "shall not be infringed," and what we've just heard described was a series of infringements that have been placed upon the exercise of our Second Amendment. And we're just very encouraged that legislation like this is before your body. We think that actually the same good results that have been obtained in other states are almost certainly going to occur here. It was mentioned that, well, of course, Vermont's had concealed carry constitutionally for about as long as anybody can remember, but more recently Alaska passed this kind of legislation. Their violent crime rate went down. It went down rather significantly. So exactly the opposite of what was being predicted would happen by those opposed. Happily, it didn't turn out. It actually is a testimony, I think, to the good judgment of decent Americans who, when given the opportunity to legally protect themselves, they're not very often involved in abusing that opportunity. And I think that should give some comfort to those that have doubts, that are opposed, that they can look. This is one of the strengths, I guess, of our American system. We're like a huge laboratory, and we've now had 13 other experiments come in with the results, and they've been all very positive. And I think that should be taken into consideration. You're not walking the plank on this. It's not going to be some unmitigated disaster if this legislation is passed with your name as a yay. So that should be very encouraging. Typically, we find there's been research done by a lot of academics and institutes that, to use one of their book titles, you get to the point where you can see that more guns means less crime. Whether it's that criminals know that a particular person has a gun, more likely it's might have a gun, they're less inclined to commit violent crime. And so we see that very kind of thing happen. The concealed carry movement over the last 30 or so years has resulted in declining violent crime, and certainly as the quantity of guns has increased in our country in the last 20 years or so, same thing. Violent crime has been going down. So if we increase the number of people who are out on the street legally with a concealed firearm, I think we're going to find the same things happening that we've already seen. If we're not changing the direction, we're expanding the direction. Issuing of permits has been abused even when it's against the law. And you probably would know better than I, but you've got a sheriff in Johnson County who seems to be kind of proud of the fact that he makes it like walking over glass to get a permit. That's not right. And it also kind of reflects the notion that he works for the people. And he really needs, I think, to think more carefully about whether he's to be treated differently from those for whom he works. I think it reflects an acceptance of big government generally if we accept the idea that when it comes to protecting my very life, the government can get involved in that decision, then what other decisions can't the government be involved in? So while we're here to talk about the gun aspects of this and the Second Amendment, I think it's at least worth noting in passing that there are broader considerations. I think, well, yes, let's just point to the fact that any list of gun owners seems to be a temptation for some of those who are in office. We've seen it not just abroad where registration lists have been used. And of course, a licensing list means a list of people who are licensed to own guns. And those lists, whether it's Fidel Castro, the first day he was in power in 1959, or whether it's somewhere else in New York City, where they licensed the guns, and then a few years later, they came and confiscated those that owned firearms. They decided the people could no longer arm. No risk, no problem. And it seems to me that is something that we should learn from our own history as well as history in other places. I think I will let off there, but certainly would be happy to try to answer any questions if there are.
Okay, thank you very much.